Good morning, and thank you for creating time for us on this social hour this Tuesday. We appreciate your time and company. And this particular morning, we actually want to celebrate fathers out there, talk about fatherhood and what it means and the role that fathers play in a society. What does it mean to have the presence of a father in your life and the absence of a father in your life? And what difference does that even have? We are going to be breaking that down for you as we gear up towards the Father's Day. Usually wanasemanga Mother's Day, we make a very big deal about it. But when it comes to Father's Day, Men's Day, things are kind of low-key. So we have decided this year we are doing things different. And I have my panel in studio this particular morning. Of course, the lovely, lovely panel that I have. CJ Atemo sitting on the far right. Yeye ndo leo anaongea mambo ya the fathers. He's the father in the house now this morning. Thank you, CJ, for creating time.
You're welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
At least I got a memo on my pocket square.
Yeah, I wasn't left out too much. You guys decided to do the blue, and then thing. At least CJ became the gentleman. Tunakaa vizuri. Cutie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's such a cold morning. Oh my God, I'm freezing. But I'm here to celebrate fathers. Happy Father's Day in advance. Mr. Josh is watching. Big up on yourself, and to all the fathers out there that are responsible.
Father's father. Usianze kufungua topic kabla tujafika.
Moto, wewe unataka kuwasha moto. Unajua umeleta topic sensitive.
Nakuambia it's a hot.
Tutakwambia kwa nini hawa celebrate yangu day yao. Tutakwambia.
For real?
We will tell.
Mbona ikifika anyway, tuanze maswali. Wacha nimpatie Roberta also a chance. Roberta looking good.
Thank
leo.
Thank you.
Modest. Baka amekaa hivi.
Shout out to my mama. Hii topic ya leo inatuachanga. Tumetoka patukili. My mom dresses me. But najua maybe ningesema shout out to my dad, but like hi daddy pia na watch. Hii topic ya leo inatuachanga either tunatoka paka tumekasirika ama tunalia. So leo wacha nione. I'm just learn. I'm here to listen and learn.
But the good thing is that we had to bring the cocktail of all mixed feelings about fatherhood, because these are the realities on the ground. Tusikae hapa tuseme we are just going one side, we are celebrating. There's also that other side of fatherhood that we need to deal with, and also to have a man on the panel to tell us what fatherhood is all about. Sometimes tunakosanga kuelewa. The men, we fail to understand the fathers. So what does it really mean? Ikiatu kiambiwa you are now a father, what does it mean to wear that shoe? And the wearer of the shoe wako represented kwa studio this morning. Hata mimi shout out to my dad. He's, by the way, I was telling you guys tukiwa makeup, my dad watches each and every of my show from way back kabla hata nijielewe to date. He has like watched my journey throughout in this media industry. So shout out my super person. He writes in capital letters. Like he actually writes in capital letters. Everything. I'll tell you more about him tukiendelea. But shout out to you. Happy Father's Day in advance. All right, so tuanze hii topic. Karibu kwa emotional niseme.
Tunaanza kwa moto ama tunaanza kwa cool? Tunaanza kwa moto depend ama shallow.
Father's Day. I'd like to begin from first of all breaking down that term fatherhood. When we say father, CJ, wacha tuanzie.
Wacha tuanze cool.
Tuanze tu pole ya. Kuwa baba ni nini? Like that title, what does it mean?
A father is a source. Is a source. And so even when you're looking at that from a biological perspective, then that's the person that then gives the seed. They're the origin and the source of that particular seed. But they're not supposed to stop at just being a source. Then they're supposed to be a resource as well. So there's several things that you would make comparisons with. So a father would be a foundation. That's where the whole building of a family begins. That's where the initial lessons of a child about self-awareness, self-consciousness, identity, purpose, assignment, gifts, and abilities should come from. You see, the way you're talking with pride about your dad watching your entire journey, because that gives you a sense of affirmation. It gives you a sense of belonging and acceptance, knowing that you're covered. So that becomes a foundation for you to keep building and going on. a lot of times children, when they're growing up and they're doing things, they come around the house and they will say, Daddy, see this. And then they'll also take it to mommy, but mostly they're waiting for daddy's voice to hear that that's a good drawing, that's a good thing you've done. Unfortunately, most of the time, either the fathers are either absent or worked up, or they will be saying, you know what, go and show mom. And then this kid learns how to live without the foundation of the father's affirmation. Apart from that element of being a foundation, he also is a farmer. There are certain words that were used interchangeably. A father, a husband, because I'm a believer in the Bible, and in the Bible, which is Hebrew mostly, those words are used interchangeably. So father and husband, which from agriculture, husbandry. So he's a farmer, meaning he cultivates. And so it is a father's role to cultivate the values in a child, to cultivate self-esteem, to cultivate perspective, to cultivate their worldview, cultivate their gifts. So they're not just the foundation, they are also the farmer. And then thirdly, I would say a father is a fence, a sense of protection and security. Sometimes I'll be home and my kids, they'll not even be talking to me. They're minding their business. But when I am away a bit, they want to know where I am. Because my presence just brings security. It's that aspect. It's just, again, like the fence. You know, you don't keep on touching it to feel like it's the fence here. But the day somebody cuts that fence, you will feel exposed. So it is there, but it is subtly sitting there. But it gives you a sense of protection. And that's what a father does. So a present father becomes a fence to his children and to his home, so that even when he's not saying or doing much, there is a particular aspect of security that he brings into that place.
Hey, that's like a very
breath of fresh air.
deep breakdown of what a father is. You know, like you think about it differently. You know, many I think would believe being a father is just having a child. Because this show inakuja asubuhi, I don't want to use the other. Kwa tu na mtoto, that's inaishia hapo. But you see, the way CJ has opened it up, it goes beyond just, you know, having a baby. It is a bigger role. And Cutie, I'd like to hear your thoughts, you know, just after having heard what CJ has described a father to be and what people think fathers are. What are your quick thoughts?
I love what you said, husbandry. So the cultivating the family. I didn't know about that, by the way.
Me as well.
For me, a father is the head of the house. As the way they say, the way Christ is the head of the church, the father is the head of the house. At the end of the day. So this family. I am naitona hapa ndo maana mimi ukakaribu ndo naitap your blessing kutoka hapa. But I believe our father is the head of the house, and he was given that role. And as Christ said, same way. So this church is the family. Now for the husband, this church is the family. So Christ was the head for the church, and now the father becomes head of the house. He's supposed to lead this family. He's supposed to provide solutions. He's supposed to provide for this family, show the way. Because the way we know, most of the time you'll find that people look up to the dad, like, tunaendaje? Are we going right? Are we going left? What are we supposed to do? You will find, not that the woman cannot be able to do that, but there's that sense of you want to be like, you want to depend on the man. You be like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to come up with a solution for ABCD? You want to hear first what he has to say. You might just say your opinion, but at the end of the day, he's the head of the house. You'll see the way I grew up, my dad never used to beat us, by the way. Me, I've never been beaten by my dad. I can't even remember. But
and you turned out this way.
Hapana, sasa Buddha analetaga authority. Buddha ni authority. Buddha anaweza sema kitu hivi ama muangalie tu hivi useme hapo siwezi fanya. But you see for the mom lazima atumie kiboko. Si tumeishi kupigwa na madhe. Yani madhe ndo amekuwa disciplinary, like yeye ndo ameishi kutupiga. Lakini akikwambia wacha nipigie baba yako, una freeze hiyo day, hata uwezi lala. Ukisikia ni fadhi unatetemeka. Sasa unashindwaje? Mbona unatetemeka? Na asi ati atakupiga. Even I see the way kids behave around men. Maybe tumeenda mahali, utaona umeenda kusalimia mtoi, wewe anaweza kulenga. But wacha akuja salimia na mwanaume yako hapo around. Huyo mtoi atatii. I don't know why, but there is a way men bring authority. They bring something into the room. Like ukiona hapo mwanaume akikuja, hata buda zetu akikuja kwa hao hizo enzi, like there was just something ilikuwa ina change kwa hiyo hao. Unajua tu ni kama mnanyamaza, mnajua ni time ya news, mnajua ni time ya World Cup, tunafaa kuweka football, mnajua hapo hakuna kuocha tizi, sijui zile masoaps zilikuwaga kitambo, hakuna vitu kama hizo, tunakuwa softy. So for me, a dad is the head of the house, na mimi na believe in leadership. That's why nashindaga nikisema I need a man who leads me, because I want to see that in a man. Hiyo ndo kitu yani kwangu inanibamba the most. Please lead your house, be the leader, have authority, and be there to ensure that you provide for your family.
And we all agree that doesn't just come easy. And we'll talk about even how to build yourself to be that person, to have that presence of, somebody who walks into the room and people know Daddy amekuja, the father is in the home. Because I happen to, like, if you're... Robert, I also want to hear your thoughts about what a father means to you, what fatherhood means to you from your perspective.
Kwanza, let me give CJ his flowers. Because 4 years ago when I met CJ, I was a very angry kid. I think it's been 4 years now. I'm an adult. I'm a bit grown. So my perspectives on a lot of things have changed. But when I met CJ, and we'd have these discussions about, you guys have heard how he talks, and now he's into this nice world where you feel so nice.
Like if things were this way, and
the things he describes, the things he talks about, they're real. They're not, I always say this, it's not from utopia. The way he explains who a father is and how a father is supposed to show up should show you the kind of maybe what we lacked growing up, what we missed. But once you get to really hear him and understand what he's saying, you start to see how fathers are actually really important in the society, how fathers are important in everything that we do, how the male figure in the home is so important, because you start to realize how it affects all your perspectives, how it affects everything that you do, how you date, how you work, how you relate with friends, how you even relate with men, whether they're your friends or in a romantic way. So it's really, really important to have a father figure in the home. And maybe when you grow up without a dad, you take that for granted, or you start to feel indifferent about the whole situation. Like we were just talking with QT in the makeup room, and sitaki kusema vitu mingi ni expose secrets zetu. Maybe atajisemea what she was saying. But like you start to see when you CJ alinitoa place yenye nilikuwa na hate kusikia even about dads, to the point where you start to have much more grace for your parents. You start to have patience and kindness, and now you're able to understand, not really to justify or to excuse how you are treated or lack thereof any treatment. It's just for you to be able to be kinder to your parents, because these people were doing the best they could with the information they had. Unajua sisi sai tumechanuka, tuko exposed. How we would deal with things is not the same way they did in their times. So it's so bittersweet. It's nice to see the growth that I've accomplished, but also just to mention how CJ has, you guys book him. Because me hata sijamlipa pesa yoyote. Just coming on the show every Tuesday and listening to him, listening to the things he has to say. So you get today, listen, me, niko hapa as a student leo. Listen and see how it is important. My point, I won't say, I don't want to answer that question because you guys may jibu. But I just want to say dads are really important in the society. Fathers being in the home, being present with the kids, fathers showing up, fathers being there, it's really important. Me, I just want to encourage the men to show up for us, because we need it, we love it, we want to feel safe, we want to feel protected, we want to, it's important. Me say niko 28 na naona venye, there's so many things I consistently have to unlearn kwanza nikisha kuja hapa nisikize CJ akisema, you know, fathers are the farmers. Like, okay.
Farmers.
Okay.
You know that?
Okay, maybe I need to stop, you know, fighting, because we need each other at the end of the day. Yeah. Women and men, we need to coexist. We need to be able to show up together. And when kids are in the picture, when we're talking about dads, because now kids are in the picture, guys, it's important. Iyo kuishi kama, I don't care whether he's there or he's not. I don't care whether... It's important for us to have dads in the situation. So me, wacha tu nianze na ku-encourage or say, please, daddies, please, just show up for us. Just be there.
Let's talk about, CJ, the other side of the coin. We have talked about the significance and what a father means, yeah? Let's talk about the absence of fatherhood in a family. How does it, you know, impact the overall balance of just, you know, that family?
Well, you see, I talked about the element of him being a foundation.
Yeah.
So that's like trying to build without a foundation. So what then is the stability of what is being built? In a lot of cases, we want to do things with reference. And I tell you a lot of times, people want to have reference to their fathers. Those would be their heroes. That's why when Kitty talks about when a father comes in and says something, people will listen because there's just an innate authority that is put on them and a willingness in us to listen. Sometimes even when the person is not believable, you still want to believe them. You know, you want them to become your hero. You want them to become this. And that's where the frustration with fathers comes in, because children have expectations, very inborn expectations that they want you to be that person for them. And so when you are absent, first of all, there will be no direction. There won't be any direction. Two, there will not be any discipline in that place. So when a mother has to discipline, a woman was not built to discipline her children. She's supposed to be the emblem of love. So when she has to discipline, she will go beyond what she's supposed to do. So with women, generally, you'll find she's either too soft or too hard, because that was not supposed to be her role. So she'll either mother you to death or she will mother you.
There are people who've been mothered to death.
Yeah, I mean, because now the child becomes their consolation. And they want to compensate for the absence of the father, and so they overdo it. So they won't discipline the child. But then there are those ones who then will release their frustration on the children and feel all the anger and bitterness and whatever frustration they have with the man, they just release it on the child, and the child is wondering, what's this about? So there are children who were raised by what we were calling at some point toxic mothers, but only because the fathers were not there. So these women were not in a place of emotional balance. They were thrown off, they were angry, they were bitter, they had no support system, and then they have children to raise. And you see, you can't abandon a child, you can't take a leave. So you're going through your therapy with the kids. This kid becomes your guinea pig for your therapy. So they take in a lot of that trauma. So when you remove the father from this, the ripple effect is quite great. So you don't have direction, you don't have discipline. Sometimes you even kill the dreams of these children. Sometimes you do. It's difficult to have a mother nurturing children at home and still trying to show up for them with their dreams. So when you see things like a mother is trying to take the kids to a soccer academy and still be at home doing all of this, that's too much work. That's too much work. If she's taking care of the home, somebody should be nurturing the dreams of these children. Somebody should be listening and probably funding. So this mother has to go pick the kids from soccer, come back, cook for them, go out to the market, come back. Something is going to give and something won't work out right. Nobody was supposed to raise those children by themselves. And so when you don't show up as a father, those several things that they will lack. And one of those, again, that I would talk about, the element of the affirmation, the voice of a man, just saying you did well. You know, I never had that at all. So Bobby was saying before we started that, you know, that I also had daddy issues. Yes, I did. But it pushed me into something about wanting to know more about men and mentoring men. But just the thing of, you know, a man telling you you've done well, is really something.
Yeah.
And especially for the male child, but even for the girl child.
It is true.
It is really, really, really huge because he sets even the foundation for how you relate with other men. When your father has told you you're beautiful, when your father says you're okay, no man can come into your life and tell you less. Yes. When your father treats you well, you can't take less from somebody else. So he even sets the pace of love, what a man's love means to a woman. When he is absent, this woman would keep on looking for sometimes a mirage. And they're ladies that we will fight and attack and say, they're going for older men. We don't understand the core of that. It's not really that they're going for older men. They're looking for something that is deficient in them. So they're trying to get two in one. They're trying to get a father and a man at the same time. So there's a lot of ripple effect of not having a father being present in the home.
It doesn't end there. You said something about, and QT, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, about, nobody is supposed to raise a child on their own. But then we are living in a society whereby I think, single parenthood has been glorified, or sort of like, would I say people have been pushed to the wall to the extent that they feel like it's okay, by the way. We have even women who exist in marriages, but it's sort of like just the title that they are married, but they have in their head said, ini safari yangu, like I'm going to take care of my kids, I'm on my own, hapa ni kama niko peke yangu, kama nilijioa. I mean, should we keep on going that direction? And probably what do you think has gotten us to that space?
Well, I think that's a tough question because it's true, we glorify single motherhood because, mothers are heroes. And that's why you'll find on Father's Day, you'll find people actually saying, for being a dad and a mom, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Yani, on Father's Day, we are always glorifying single moms, and it's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Hail to all single mothers. They are doing an amazing job. I know that. But you see, when I was growing up, I used to be conflicted in terms of, I used to be like, I had already decided for myself that I want to be a single mom. It's because of sometimes the environment that you grow in, your friends, the people around you, they're all single moms. And you're like, wow, she's really hacking it. She's going to work, she's getting the money, she's paying school fees, she's paying rent. And you're thinking, wow, that's all that matters. Shock on you, years later, you come and realize, now these kids, when you're around these kids, when I'm with my friends and we are there talking, you'll find the kid will want to ask a question like, Mom, who is my dad? What happened to my dad? Where is my dad? What happens at that particular moment when this child starts asking the hard questions? And no one wants to see their child suffer. At the end of the day, even as a mom, you do not want to see your child suffer. But I think them days, we used to be like, I'm going to be a single mom, I'm going to provide everything. But later on in life, you start to realize this kid actually needs their dad. Kuna vitu zenye wezi fanya, hata ukue superhero aje as a mother. Kuna vitu zenye lazima baba kwe hapo. Una get like at the end of the day hata sijui nitaisemaje venye tu sije amesema kuna zile authority, kuna zile vitu zenye my dad listens to my show every single day 5 years ago since I started being on radio. Wow. So kuna hiyo kitu yenye natakaga kusikia tu kwa babangu.
Una get like girls.
Yeah, I'm daddy's girl. I know, I'm a daddy's girl. I know, like mimi yenye budangu lazima aseme kitu. Lazima tu aseme kitu ndio ni feel okay fine, hata job watu watasema uko sawa, watu wananiambia show ni poa. Lakini budangu ananiambia every single year he celebrates the show. Kitanwa alikuwa hapo. Yani kuna hiyo validation I get kutoka kwa father. I don't know why. Una get like but kuna hiyo kitu hata saa zingine madhe anaweza tu kuwa random aseme leo ulikuwa smart but tunangojea text ya mzai nataka kusikia atasema nini. It's just a thing, Na pia for the male child, yani boy child, akigrow up kuna zile vitu lazima ufunzwe na budako. Venye amesema zile soccer games, kuna zile vitu zenye utaenda huko nje boss, lazima baba ako hapo ambie mtui. Na ni our selfish needs as maybe parents tunaonaga I can hack it without, but are you thinking about your child? Wewe unafikiria okay I can do without that guy. Sawa, I can do without that lady. Lady wako na ego yake, hata huwezi mwambia kitu, lakini umefikiria huyu mtoi. Wacha kufikiria mama ya mtoi, wacha kufikiria baba ya mtoi. Fikiria needs za huyu mtoi. And I think hapo ndio sisi upotea sana Safin, like we don't think about the needs of this kid. Mtoi akienda shule watu wanaongelelea mambo ya my dad, you know my dad yesterday, you know I love my dad. Ebu imagine what that child is going through. Mtoi pia anataka kuko associated. Sisemi ni vibaya kutumia jina ya mama yako, but kuna kwa gana hiyo kitu ya just because someone is using their mother's name as the surname, unakuwa judged. Immediately unakuwa judged. Ati nikianza kusema mimi kama Wanyambura or whatever, hey, guys are like, hey, watu wanakuangalia zile already umekuwa judged by society. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's a bad name, it's a bad thing. Tosi ni get vibaya. All I'm saying is sisi wote utafutaga hiyo identity. Tutaka kujua niko associated na nani, babangu ako wapi, hizi tabia zenye niko nazo, hivi vile nakaa, I want to know how my dad, you know, kila mtu anataka kuko associated na dad. So as much as single mothers we glorify them, na nimekuambia tutakujibu hiyo, ndio maana utapata Mother's Day tuko huko nje for being a dad and for being a mom. Happy Father's Day. Yani tunaambia madem happy Father's Day. Nani juu wamepulio juu. But ukumbuke mtoi, angalia mtoi wako venye ana behave. Angalia mtoi wako zile vitu zenye ana go through just because you've decided to be selfish enough and to put your ego out there and decide by this itaongelesha huyu mwanaume huyu atanijua sitamwongelesha. But you're hurting the child. You're not hurting the man. You are hurting the child because you're denying this child the awesomeness of getting to know their dad. I mean, just as a dad, step up. As a man, step up there. Endo wambie dem cheki, mimi nataka tu kujua mtoi wangu, nataka kuspend time na mtoi wangu. Co-parenting ikwe ni kitu yenye ikwe to normalize co-parenting. Si lazima tusikizane Safin, but why can't we co-parent? Why can't we just be and decide, by the way wacha tu tukue tu pamoja, tufanye mambo yetu. Na get, so dads please step out there. Watoi wenyu wanawani duku inze. Utaki kusikia mtoi wako akiambia stories za dad, akichora tree pale, amechora mom and kids peke yake, aticha pale. Unajua maticha pia wako na role. Unajua pia maticha wako na role. Unaambia mtoi achore tree, una expect yake baba yako na aja grow na budake, unataka afanye nini? It's not their fault to get.
All right. Wacha tusikie Roberta your thoughts as well. A good example she has given is how we celebrate single motherhood even on Father's Day and make it a big deal. Do you think mothers are hacking it? Not see ati tuna mimi vibaya, but hiyo role ya father, ule mwanamke ako pale anatuwatch na anasema mimi niko sawa, in fact niko tu sawa. Ako sawa kweli from where you sit? Like what is it that you feel ingekuwa tofauti if the father was present?
Kuna mtu ako sawa peke yake, uwezi raise mtoi peke yako. Hiyo kitu ina need community, ina need village, ina need grandmothers, teachers, friends, neighbors, sisters. Hata wewe friends wako wanafaa kuwe present in your kid's life. Wanajua Auntie Roberta, you know I can go to Auntie Roberta in case of anything. Uncle CJ, I can ask him for fare. You know, they need to know it's supposed to be community. And that's how I grew up. I grew up around my cousins, around my aunties, around my uncles. Mpaka at some point inakuwa blood, hata ujui nani ni brother yako na nani ni sister yako. Juu kila mtu ni wenu, mnaendanga shule same. Si shosho wetu anaitwa Kuhu. Kuhu alikuwa anakama na chukua. Sisi wote, tunaenda si wote kuchill kwa Kuhu. Mpaka hata mnasahau wazazi wenu, mpaka saa leo watawarudia in 2 weeks, in a week. So community is really important. And yeah, we can sit here and make it look nice, like saying, yeah, they're hacking it, but it's hard. It is difficult. That's why our mothers are starting to develop autoimmune diseases, starting to go through things like diabetes and cancer and what, because of all the stress they've pent up in their bodies because of taking care of 3, 4, 5 kids on their own. And motherhood, I hear mothers say motherhood is very, very lonely. It really removes you from everything you are used to. Your life completely stops being the same. You can't do the same things you used to do. You can't even hang with the same friends. Things change. It's very different. So mothers are struggling. It's not easy, and it's not, I don't want to glorify it and to make it look like it's this nice thing, because I saw how my mom struggled. I saw how my mom did everything. Yes, I can say, in as much as I can say, she showed up. She was there at every practice, every performance, every CG academic what. She paid all the bills. I also know about how she used to hide and cry. I also know how about
she the other side as well.
We used to tungekunywa strungi tulale. Saizo ilikuwa fun juu we are with mommy. We never used to know we were broke or we were poor or we didn't have or we lacked. But I can imagine how maybe sometimes it's not even out of selfishness. Women get married. You know, they get married, they do the whole thing. They go to church, they get married, they get 2 kids, and then the guy bails. That's something that happens. So and people will still judge you. They don't care whether you're a widow or whether your man left or whether your man is somewhere else working. If you're just alone, people just seclude you and hakuna mtu utaka mashida extra ama baggage extra ati sasa niende ni take care. That's why when I see even Cutie taking care of her nieces and nephews, that's a big thing. Mothers are really, really showing up. And in as much as it's good, I feel like sometimes they just don't have a choice, because what will you do? Right. What will you do after that? Will you leave your kids? You can't just walk out and leave them the way it's probably easier for the other partner. And the thing with trauma is it makes you reach a point whether you either want to say you'll never repeat those cycles and you want to be different, like CJ. Now he's mentoring men and young boys, and he completely turned his life around from his experiences with his father. Or it's the other extreme where you're not bothered by anything. You want to repeat your father's cycles. You just want to continue what he did because it doesn't bother you. If daddy did it, mbona mimi nisifanye? And in single parent households, especially single moms, utapata in such situations, the men are effeminated. If they decide they're not going to do better, they just end up being like their dads. And then the women are forced to become strong and become masculine and get things done in the home, which is not a good balance. So you asked me, is it good? Like, is it good how the women are stepping up and they're doing? It is good because I want a choice. But I would like to say, feminine and masculine energy is needed in balance.
Yeah, great.
We need the men in the homes. We need the women to show up as women.
Yeah.
Mimi nasemanga, mimi nataka tu kwa dem. Kwa relationships zangu nataka tu kwa dem.
It's true.
Sitaki kustruggle, sijui nini, sijui this, sijui what. Kuna vitu zingine tu. Unajua, kama mi utoa trash leo Tuesday, zinachukuliwanga leo, mi ujam. Lazima niamke mapema, niende downstairs. Kwanza building yangu ina lift. Sasa lazima niende huko chini, nipeleke hizo trash. If I had a man, he'd have done it, you know? And then me, when he comes home, imagine he just comes home to a nice 4-course meal, nimemeka hadi dessert, hadi nimebake. Can you imagine how nice he's going to feel? And it's not even about it's my job as a woman to cook, it's his job as a man to take the trash out. It's just about the balance, the balance. It's about taking care of each other in beautiful ways, in ways that show we're very considerate of each other. And it pours into the kids. The kids start learning. They just learn automatically. My job is to take care of my sister. I have to make sure my sister is okay. And me, I need to make sure my brother is fine. My brother has eaten, he's safe, I've taken care of him. So, hizi traumas zinatu affect sana kama grown-ups. Tuko sahi grown-ups, tuna approach 30, sahi ndo tunaanza kulana, sijui what. Like I was just saying right now before we started, it hit me a different way when I realized that in my relationships, my male partner is coming in as a partner, not as my dad. See, me, I grew up thinking, because of these things I lacked, CJ was telling me he's supposed to understand the balance. I want to hear more about that. But before that, you know, it's kuna hii notion tunakwanga nayo as women, this man is supposed to come into your life and save you. You see all these things your dad did not do, all this care your dad did not give you, the validation, the emotional regulation, the authority, just kukua regulated. Hizo ni vitu mimi na learn saizi as an adult. Mtu mwenye ali grow up na both parents in the house, ako way ahead of me. Mimi nimekuwa nikigrow from survival, ya kona experience ya. Saizi uwezi, venye Sija amesema, uwezi enda dem mwenye babake ako present wanze kumwambia you're ugly, how?
Hey.
How? Na babake amekuwa hapo from day one, akibuild iyo self-esteem. Akibuild, anajua kuregulate emotions, anajua kunegotiate, anajua kumake money, anajua. Mizo vitu nazilan saizi na hata kuna mtu ananifundisha. So it's hiyo balance iko needed. In as much as you're able to be strong and you're able to show up, we need each other. We need a healthy mix of balance of energies where we're able to take care of each other, because it's how kids learn from watching. You might think kids learn from the things you tell them. Shuka, wacha, stop, enda, zi. Kids learn from, they see you, they see mommy coming home and making nice meals for us. They see daddy coming home and sitting with us, playing with us, asking us about our best friends, learning about us. So they learn from seeing, they learn from hearing what you say.
All right.
Let's be present in the home so that our kids can love themselves. Kwanza hiyo part ya validation, affirmation, kujipenda, hizo vitu zinakam. There's no way you can learn them from a mom who's consistently stressed about bills, food, and still making sure you guys are okay.
And she can also be an absentee mom. Not because she wants, but now because the world has thrown her into a space where she has to wear both shoes. So she's not a mom anymore. She's trying to play the role of a dad, being out there to fend for the family. And you hear, you're lacking the mom, you're lacking the dad at the same time. So you see, there is no balance there. CJ, let's talk about whether we are preparing the men for this role. We know we talk a lot about what a father is, what a man is. But you know, the ladies, I would say, kind of, we are biased towards the ladies. Wakiwa wadogo, you're taken through the whole process of msichana hafai kukaa hivyo, usika hivyo, usivaa hivyo, like you're taught how to be a lady, how to be a mother. But do we offer the same to the men? Are we preparing them to take up the role that we say most of them are currently not playing?
Not adequately.
Yeah?
Generally, no. Because just of the challenges that we've talked about right now, if a lot of homes are being led by the female, which is the mother. Even in cases where fathers are physically present, sometimes you'll find that it's the mother who is mostly involved in the children and raising them. She's the one who's home when they come home from school. She's the one who's there in the morning. So the gentlemen sometimes just stay out late or they work elsewhere. They will come over the weekends, probably once in a month. It will be maybe somebody's working out of the country and the preference is to have the children growing up with a mom. So these children will generally be nurtured by their mother. And if he is remotely present, for example, then this woman will settle in her feminine energy, which then becomes detrimental to the boy, because then he's being raised by a female. And as much as he will be in touch with his emotions on the feminine side, then he lacks this model of a man. Pressure, solving problems. How do you handle things? How do you make decisions? How do you show up when there's conflict? What do you do when you disagree with other people? How do you manage negative emotions like anger and stress, anxiety? What do you do when you're nearly feeling depressed? What do you do when things are not working for you as a man? Because they don't have a lot of that kind of model, then most of our young people then get lost. They'll get into drugs, they'll get into abuse, they'll get into violence. They'll be beating up their women, you know, because they don't know how to reason out with something. They don't know how to lead. So they feel I'm supposed to lead, but this lady is not following what I'm saying. So the only way to react is to get angry because they don't have a model of somebody who dealt with those situations and came out in a certain way. The second is that we don't have a lot of that being taught either, even in the homes. Fathers who will spend time with their sons and say, this is what you need to do. Partly because some of them did not have anybody. Because when I talk about my generation already didn't have their fathers present, most of them. I grew up in a space where we had how many houses, but there was only one that was being led by a man. Luckily enough, good enough, you know, there are people who normally step up into father roles. Part of my initial days, one of my brothers really did a great job. Looking back, I see that was a great job. You know, when I wanted to read his books, he would find books that were at my level. When I wanted to do things, then he would find a way with me. When I wanted to get his cologne, then he would allow me to see his cologne when he was in campus. You know, those kind of stuff. But you can imagine those are things that people normally long for. I know that my sons would, because they'd see their mom do different diets for me for different reasons. Sometimes I wouldn't want too much sugar or something. Then these boys would just switch. Whatever they see is mine. That's what they want. They will come for my stuff. They will come for my deodorant. They will come for whatever I'm using. That's what they want. So that presence there, look at what it does to them.
Yeah.
So you will be mentoring people both by what you say and by what you demonstrate, by what they see. We don't have that much. Partly, again, some of the men who are trying to show up are really now trying to compensate on the side of providing. because they feel this is the main thing they need to do, and they want to raise their families. They want their families to be better. But then they have become very absent emotionally and mentally in the lives of their children. So they live there, they take care of the bills, but that's all they do. They're trying to work hard, so they've got mortgage, they've got a car loan, they've sent the kids to good schools, but they can't be there because, again, the lifestyle that they are offering has now taken them away from the children that they're raising. And this is something that we've got to understand, that the importance of money is for it to buy you time. You make money so that you have time. If you only make money for money, then that money has no value. So if making money means I don't have time, I'm still in poverty.
No, you don't have a life.
Yeah.
I'm in bondage because what am I doing? What am I working for? For those people who go out and you feel, well, I'm working for my children, you know what? Those kids, they need you at a certain stage. At some point, they won't need that money.
It's true.
They'll be able to make their own money, but they'll still probably need you as a coach, as a mentor. You play those different roles as a father. When you have not formed them at a certain stage, it becomes very difficult when somebody's at the age of Bobby. Then now you want to come in to advise. There's no trust. There's no connection that has been built. So even if you come in and say, you know, I think you should spend your money like this, the first reaction is, where are you coming from to start talking to me about this?
All my life.
You weren't there all this while, and then now you want to come in when things are easier. So even as we go out to make money, it's very important to be present. So to get back to your question, we're not doing enough. In fact, we're not doing much in those areas. Most of the people who are trying to raise these boys are the women, because they're the ones who are spending most of the time with them. Men need to get back into the place. You may not know too much, but teach the little. I've said this one time, long time ago, here on the show. There's one of my proteges one time. So he had a child with a lady, and he didn't feel like he wanted to get married to this lady. It just happened. But then he was also going through a tough time financially. And so he was going through a very difficult time emotionally. And I said to him, you know, your son will forgive you for not having money, but he will never forgive you for not being there.
That's true.
So no matter what you're going through, it may be tough, you may not have a job, you may not have money, you may not have this, but please come back into their lives. Invest. Talk about your failures. Or even if you don't directly talk about your failures, talk about the lessons you learned around failure.
Yeah, true.
Let your children in the future say, I remember my daddy said. I remember my daddy said. You don't know how emotional it was to hear Bobby talk about the 4 years we've had. I mean, just to know that you've been part of somebody's journey and influenced that. How much more when it is your child who will be talking about that?
My dad used to say,
and that's once a week, and you see your kids every day.
Imagine.
Imagine.
One thing you said there that's very important is the fact that, you know, men are not defined by money. Money is important, but I believe in this current generation, the way we are interpreting what a man should bring in a relationship and in a family is also becoming quite destructive, because we have put a lot of pressure on men to feel like as long as they are not providing, then they are not functional. And women also feel, if you're not providing, check out, you're not adding any value to my life. We've become that linear. You know, I'm looking at back in the days, you know, days of our parents, you know, who stayed together for long. You've seen seasons. You've seen seasons of plenty, seasons of hiyo kukunywa strungi, na ugali, you've slept on the floor, you've been chased out of school because of school fees. Na maisha ilikuwa inaendelea. The fathers were there, and the mothers stayed there, and they were still respectful. What we do these days, just placing that pressure on men, men money. You know,
can I just put in something into what Bobby had asked before, now that you brought up this? You see, generally, the fit is supposed to be, ideally, you come from your father to your husband. It is a switch of fatherhood. It is normally supposed to be a switch of fatherhood. So you come with your maiden name, and you change names, adapt the name of your husband because he has taken the place of your father. So he's supposed to nurture you, he's supposed to build you, he's supposed to do all of that,
to
Bobby.
protect.
Then
Rich.
now the only other part that is different is now the romantic aspect. But
which
he
is a
generally,
plus.
yes, so it is a plus, which means that then a husband should take you higher than your father,
Yes.
because he takes up your father's roles. He takes up your father's role, and then he adds the lover to it. So there is a part of it that is your lover, your partner. A part of it, this is your father.
So he still has.
So the same way a father cannot treat a daughter is the same way a husband should not treat a wife.
Hey, I mean,
Summary.
I'm like,
Okay, kwa hivyo sio daddy issues. What I'm understanding from CJ, hatuna daddy issues, because most of the time we grow up thinking we have daddy issues. Na sio daddy issues. CJ ameclarify na akasema sio daddy issues. Anasema tuko tu sawa. Hizo vitu zenye standards zenye our dads have set. Because as I keep giving an example, mimi nikigrow up, hata food, my dad used to leave money, 200 bob, I'll never forget. Every single morning, father akitoka na probably hiyo 200 bob, kila kitu iko kwa nyumba. So you don't even need that 200 bob. Juu bado atakuja na nyama, bado atakuja na kitu kingine. So hiyo 200 tu ni ya 1 hapa kule. Ile siku yenye anafanya shopping anakuja na box. Me I think nime grow up hiyo time yenye father alikuwa like, we used to be like, father ndo ana provide kila kitu from A to Z. Saizi weka girl child hapa ati boy child haizi provide financially. Hivyo venye umesema check out.
Anakwambia bebe, hakuna kitu na add.
Hakuna kitu na add value kwa life yangu. Unajua hiyo kitu saizi. Na hiyo ndio kitu saizi maybe inatumaliza as women. That's why unapata madem relationships unakataa kabisa, unasema I will not accept anything less than what I've grown up with, than what my dad provided. I grew up my dad providing. So I also need you to be head of the house. I need you to provide. I need you to protect, give me security. Like nakutaka hapo venye babangu alikuwa. But you know also times have changed. Ni kenye wewe unatafuta. Me I keep on saying it's what you're looking for as a lady. So whatever it is I'm looking for, if I get it, well and good. If I don't, but I'm clarified, no that. I like that. Hapo ndo amemaliza.
I also love how this conversation has been empowering to both genders, the men and the women, just to be able to understand the concept of fatherhood, how it impacts a family, and how women also can play a role in just cementing that role that the father needs to play. We have all agreed it is important. Hakuna vile mtu ataishi peke yake ama raise watoto peke yake, na pia watoto hakuna vile utagrow ukisema your dad was not present na ufeel uko sawa. There is just something about fatherhood that adds something to your life. So we need to live as a society and look for a way in which we can strike a balance. Whether relationship iliwork ama haikuwork, find a way that you can introduce your children to that father figure. It could be their biological father, but again, it could be just somebody else who can play that role of a father in their life. I'm sure one day we'll talk about iyo sasa, single mothers, and how to introduce the father figure in the life of your children on another episode. But thank you so much for creating time for us this particular morning, and happy Father's Day in advance to all the fathers out there. Today I'm not wishing any mothers. Fathers, I know you are a mother, you are taking care of it, ni sawa, lakini wacha tu to celebrate the fathers for this year tu peke yake. Have a very good weekend, enjoy yourself. If you have a father, mupigie simu, enda umtembelee, buy them something, make them feel good. You just never know. My name is Safina Chingoma. I've been having a lovely panel here in studio with me as we are signing out. Have a lovely day ahead.